Guys, I'm in the new BMW M5, the car everyone's talking about. They're saying it's too big, it's too heavy, but I might have found a solution. Have a look. Lightweight package. Huh? Huh? No? I tried.
Exactly 40 years ago, BMW's legendary M division unleashed on the world a genuinely game-changing machine. The definitive super saloon, the original M5.
This, the original E28, blended sports car performance with four-door practicality, plus a dash of yuppie swagger. Pure alchemy. A dynasty was born. Over the years that followed, the M5 would become bigger, faster, more complex. It would gain cylinders, turbocharging, all-wheel drive, but it would always stand as one of the great bloodlines, a lodestar of the fast car universe.
And now there's an all-new M5, and that is a big deal. Consider it a changing of the guard, a chance for the M division to redefine what a super saloon can be.
So, have they gone simpler, lighter, more back to basics? No, they've gone big.
Faster and more imposing than ever before, this 7th generation M5 is a plug-in hybrid, making it the first to feature added electrification. In addition to the 4.4-litre twin-turbo V8 under the bonnet, there's an e-motor housed within the gearbox, juiced by a battery beneath the floor.
And they combine to produce this. This is the most powerful and the most torquey BMW M5 in history. 727 horsepower and 1,000 Newton meters of torque. That's 100 horsepower more than the current Audi RS6. It's massive. Say what you want about the new M5, just don't say it's lacking in power. 0 to 62 is done in 3.5 seconds. Flat out, with the optional M driver's package, it will hit damn near 190 miles an hour. But even though the numbers are good, the new M5 does have quite a lot of people on the internet a bit worried. Well, I say worried. The phrase I'm looking for is apoplectic with rage.
And that's because, as I hinted at earlier with my balloons, the new M5 is very weighty. It tips the heavy-duty scales at nearly 2.5 tons. That's about half a ton more than the outgoing M5 and a literal ton more than the original M5 of the 80s. Its power-to-weight ratio is actually worse than the previous generation, and so is its acceleration. But before you write an angry letter to your local MP, let me remind you, we've been here before, and maybe we need to cut BMW some slack. Remember when the latest M3 arrived with its big piggy snout, how mad everyone got that they'd ruined it? And guess what? It turned out to be great. And then there was the M2, which everyone said was too heavy and looked like it was made of Lego. And again, it turned out to be great. So maybe, just maybe, BMW's M division know exactly what they're doing.
So what does the new M5 feel like? Well, it actually feels a little bit tame when you first get into it. When you're driving around in hybrid mode and it's all quiet and calm, this is a perfectly adequate daily. These seats are comfortable, the suspension is compliant, it's chilled, it's relaxed. You could hop in this car and have no idea whatsoever that it's got 727 horsepower until you press the M1 or M2 button. That's when the V8 opens up, the exhaust gets louder, you get pops and bangs. You get a much more responsive engine. You get an M5.
So, contrary to opinion, it would seem BMW hasn't horribly dropped the ball here, which shouldn't come as a surprise because when the M division does something, it tends to do it properly, and that includes exterior design.
They've thrown the go faster kitchen sink at this one, no half measures. They've taken the standard 5 Series and just made it beefier and angrier. Look at this enormous chin, full of air intakes and vents for shoveling cool air to cool the engine and all the electrical components inside. It's also got a 3-inch wider track. And check this out. The grille is lit, quite literally, as the kids might say. Do you remember back in the day when BMW unveiled their larger kidney grille design and everyone just went into a rage? Did they back down? No, they literally made them luminous. If that isn't a giant middle finger to some of you lot out there, I don't know what is. Love it.
The changes don't stop there. The M5 sits lower to the ground than the regular 5 Series, on a slightly stretched wheelbase. Swollen arches loom over new wheel designs, 20s at the front, 21s at the back. And there's a subtle M5 logo embossed in the C-pillar. This particular car has the carbon pack, which includes carbon M door mirrors and a carbon roof to help drop the center of mass.
Around the back, again, no half measures, seriously mean looking, 2-inch wider track, boot lip spoiler, in this case finished in carbon, huge diffuser down below, and quad exhausts, which gives us the perfect excuse to play a game of Where's the Banana? George, turn around. I'm gonna hide my banana. Okay. All right, turn back. Where's the banana? 1, 2, 3, or 4. Go on, play along at home as well. Go on.
I'm gonna say 2.
No, it's not in 2. Guess again.
4.
It's not in 4. Sorry.
3.
You're absolutely correct. The banana is in fact in tailpipe number 3. It's quite deep in there. It's quite. Oh my God! It's really in there. There you go. Do you want to hear how it sounds?
Pretty good. And speaking of pretty good, quick reminder that you can buy, sell, and now lease vehicles from autotrader.co.uk. We've got tremendous deals on new in-stock cars, including BMWs of all sorts. So head on over to the website using the handy link below to snap up a great deal. Now, let's take a look at the BMW M5's interior and tech.
And the technology in this car is stupendously complicated. Have a look at the many mind-frying ways that you can configure the way the car drives. As before, you get access to pretty much everything in this car. Drivetrain, energy recovery, which is your regen, the drive logic, which controls how violently it changes gear, and it is very violent, I'll show you in a minute. Chassis, steering, braking, MX drive, which allows you to go from 4-wheel drive to 4-wheel drive sport to 2-wheel drive. You can even configure how quickly or how slowly the glove box opens. I made that last one up, but it does sound cool. This is something you don't want to be doing on the move unless you want to decorate the countryside in a fetching shade of yellow. So BMW have thoughtfully allowed us to map specific settings onto the M1 and M2 buttons. There's even a new M hybrid button, which allows you to control the energy deployment strategy. Anything between dynamic plus, dynamic, hybrid, electric, and e-control, basically telling the car exactly how much energy you want it to deploy in order to get the performance that you need.
The M5 has always been a car with multiple personas, but this configurability gives it a broader span of abilities than ever before. It's covering all the bases.
We've got to talk about the issue of weight in this car. Can you feel it? The simple answer is yes, you can, absolutely. It's difficult not to feel it. Don't get me wrong, it's not a big blobby mess. In fact, quite the opposite. This is actually a really good fun car to drive. It's got lovely handling, lovely balance, it flows through the corners really well, and it's actually quite fun to drive. The problem is that it isn't quite as athletic, quite as sharp as the previous generation car. And in fact, it doesn't actually feel quite as trustworthy. And when I say that, what I mean is you can get yourself into some serious trouble very quickly given this car's rapid acceleration, but then because of the mass, you're less able to get yourself out of trouble. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about with the brakes. They're bigger than before, and you have carbon ceramics as an option fitted to this car. But let's say you need to brake quickly and you pick a point in the distance that you think you'll stop. You can slam on the brake, and the point you expect it to stop is somewhere back there.
You also have to keep expectations in check when it comes to cornering. This car has a lot of mass to manage, and threading it through a sequence of bends reveals a lack of athleticism experienced on previous M5s. You do have to be mindful of its mass. The jury is out on the suspension in some situations too, where rival cars are equipped with advanced new systems that do a fantastic job of controlling mass. The M5 seems to struggle at times. Take another look at this launch control footage. To me, the car doesn't seem totally happy when pushed hard, moving around a fair bit on its suspension and exhibiting noticeable wheel hop in the wet.
I said earlier I'd talk to you a bit about the gearbox because it's a big influence on this car's character. You've got 3 options for your drive logic setting. In comfort, it's totally smooth. You can shift up and it's barely perceptible, but whack it into Sport Plus, completely different story. I'll slow down, knock it into 2nd gear, accelerate and shift up, and the whole car just shakes on the upshift. Right now, 2nd to 3rd, again, a big punch, and you can really feel it. Not just in the seat of your pants, but the entire car just shudders with every gear change. If you've got any experience with the Lamborghini Aventador SVJ, then it's a lot like that, believe me. Does it sound as good as the M5s of old? Honestly, no. From the outside, it's actually not bad. It's got a few pops and bangs, especially on the upshift, and on the overrun, you do get some burbles from the exhaust. At least I think you're getting burbles from the exhaust. It might be from the speakers. I know for a fact you are getting some augmented sound from the speakers in the front of the car. And in 3rd gear especially, it sounds a little bit too fake. It's got this weird kind of reverberation which doesn't feel or sound quite natural enough. But in 3rd gear and above, it sounds a lot better. Is it a tiny bit contrived? Yeah. Is it better than an EV? Also, yeah. Actually, speaking of EVs, this is the first M5 ever that can do an impression of an electric car. I'll go into M hybrid mode, hit electric, and the V8 shuts off completely. Look at that. I'm now driving totally emissions free. I've got a decent sized battery in here, 19 kilowatt hours. I can do up to 40 miles of range at speeds of above 85 miles an hour. Plus, when the battery runs out, you can charge it at home from an 11 kilowatt charger, or just charge it up from the V8.
In this mode, the M5 is a genuinely useful electric car. But that begs the question, if it weighs more than most electric cars in this class, and doesn't make as much power or torque as those electric cars, and isn't much cheaper than those electric cars, why didn't they just make this M5 entirely battery powered?
Here's why not. When BMW asked M5 customers what they wanted from the next M5, they said 2 things. Number 1, the ability to drive at great distance, at great speed without stopping very often. And number 2 was the ability to go to a racetrack and tread their tires. And according to them, right now, a full EV just wouldn't cut it. Those guys are in for a rude awakening when they find out that the next M3 will be fully electric. So, is this a worthy heir to the BMW M5 bloodline? Well, actually, this car is a lot better than I expected it to be. However, it's still a car that's going to frustrate people.
My view is that it isn't quite as engaging to drive as some hybrid-powered alternatives. The Porsche Panamera e-hybrid is less powerful, but still manages to be quicker, lighter, and more sure-footed. The Bentley Continental GT is in a price bracket above, but to me gives a slightly better account of how enjoyable a high-performance hybrid can be. This M5 holds its own in other ways, and there is of course room to improve. We await the M5 CS with bated breath, but for now, it feels like a car that could have been so much more. So, in closing,
BMW did not destroy the M5, although objectively speaking, they didn't really make it that much better either.